In reference to flat Earth, where I stand in reference to that, I stand in the same place I stood when I was in it back then. I stand in Oakland, California. That's where I stand in the reality of it all on the street and not in the story of it all. But in reference to that, I stand in unveiling the mind controls that exist in the world that affect all of us. And I stand in shedding some light on the biggest ones that are out there. The biggest ones that affect that I see, in my opinion, are the mind controls in and around humanity as a whole. So race and racism, the justice that's involved in bringing that to the surface, because that's dealing with the people. And if you're talking about Earth, you're talking about the people of Earth. So the mind controls that are that big include the cosmology of our people and the cosmology that our people had before NASA even became a thing has a spiritual connection to this realm, has a very definite understanding of this realm. And that story to this day, which was pissing me off so much back then in 2015, still hasn't been addressed. And that's largely what I was bringing up back then was flat earthers in the flat earth community want to use the cosmology of the Inca, the Hopi, the Maya, the Hebrew. They want to bring all these indigenous cosmology perspectives to use their imagery and their stories to tell a story, but they don't want to go into the stories of the people. They only want to use the story that benefits their story. So until we go into those stories, the flat earth, like, it's still going to be a commercial bullshit perspective. It's just going to be a community. It's not going to go into any other depths beyond that. So I leave flat earth where I leave a lot of this other information, which is just out there on the bookshelf. It's not really in my holster anymore. I'm not using it as much as I used to, because it's largely irrelevant to, other than just referencing it as that this is how far these lies go back, and this is what we can do to help people understand how deep these lies go. I left it there back in 2015, 10 years ago. I leave it there today because people have a tendency to still get caught up in these traps. When they did the final experiment, I didn't even really pay attention to it. I didn't even know what was going on. I heard Jaren was involved, so I was like, oh, maybe it's an official flat earth thing because Jaren's in it. Then I heard Jaren, like, all of a sudden flipped and said that he doesn't believe the earth is flat anymore or some shit. None of that shit surprised me because I was calling it out back then. I said Jaren was full of shit, all of them, whether they weren't full of shit or not. I was calling it out back then because what they were, the personal interactions that I had with them in the little chats or whatever in the talks, it was obvious to me what kind of people they were. Because if they approached me based upon what I was saying and what I was putting out there, the way they did, with a large amount of disrespect and just kind of dismissal, and I was like, look, in my community, in my circles, if you came in here and started talking that shit the way we were talking about certain things. And if you walked in here and started talking to like that in Oakland, you would be seen as an agent or some kind of fucking asshole who is not really about this information. You're about something else. And on top of that, you got some heavy ego shit going on. So the idea of flat earth in general is in the same place it was in 2015. It's just the flat earthers are now waiting for it to catch on with the normies. And when it does, they want to be there to kind of like usher them into this new awakening of realization of the world that we live in. I don't give a fuck what this earth how it's shaped and nothing. The only thing that I give a fuck about is letting people know that if you've been lied to about shit like 9/11, the Gulf of Tonkin, all these other all the weather manipulation, if you've been lied to about that, what makes you think you haven't been lied to about the cosmology, the earth itself? Now, beyond that, if you want to take it to the earth, would they lied to us about this? That means the earth is like this. You are doing that yourself. You need that. You need to put that story on there and say it's flat and say it's this, say it's concave, say it's all that shit's extra. And when you go into Extraville, that people don't need to be going there, and that's what will introduce you into more and more mind controls. I'm centered on information, asking questions that lead to justice. That's where I'm going. That is a tangible approach to the information that involves conspiracy theories, information being lied to, flat. All that shit involves justice. When somebody asks me about flat Earth and they say, "Oh, what do you think about this?" Okay, I see it. The point in that is we've been lied to. We've been lied to. It's observed. Money has been filtered in there. I just wrote a paper. I'm in community college again, just kind of sarcastically, because I'm interacting with students in there. I just did a 6-minute final project for one of my classes in my humanities class, which was what somebody would call a flat Earth documentary, but it was called the NASA Files. It's on my Rumble page, but it was just a quick compilation, like a mixtape that I usually do of the various lies that are in and around the flat Earth information. And when I make videos like that, I don't go into it's flat and that's it. They lied to us and it's flat. Like, I don't give a shit about that, because I'm not trying to sell anything to anybody. I just want people to think on their own, ask the right questions, and take some of this stuff into account when they're asking those questions. And I trust that the right people with the right amount of information will come around to realizing everything on their own. And if you need to take it a step further into, I think it's flat, I think it's concave, I think we're in a simulation, I think you can do that to fucking infinity. Is it productive? Maybe for you, maybe you think so. But I know for a fact, once you step into that world, you're stepping in to the world that is heavily manipulated and used by the same systems that lied to you in the first place. So if you're doing that, you're opening yourself up to attacks. You're opening yourself up to a deeper layer of mind control, and another waste of time, ultimately.